Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Newton. I'm the Director of Sales at Simba Technologies, and I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us and registering for this Simba webinar. This is one in a series of webinars that we've been doing here at Simba. And today we're going to be discussing connecting Tableau to any data. And so we hope you, this is the seminar that you wanted to see today, and we're hoping to have some fun with this and really provide some value to you and discuss connecting specifically Tableau, but a lot will hold true for any BI tool, from the traditional RDBMS applications through to we'll be discussing how to connect to Hadoop, right through to the newer NoSQL applications and frameworks. So that's sort of the agenda for today. We chose this topic as we were getting a lot of feedback from people on our website, and they've been contacting us, quite interested in our drivers and knowing more about how Simba can help them connect from BI tools that are already embedded in their applications into the new data sources and data frameworks that are available today. So that's how we came up with this idea. And by the response that we got, the number of registrants and all of you that are here today, quite a large audience. I think it shows that there is real keen interest in this topic, and we hope that you'll find that the next 40 or 45 minutes are really of value to you, and we can answer your questions and let you go back to your day with some real good answers. In a little bit, I'm going to be bringing in our development manager, Adrian Glover, and he's going to be doing a demonstration of using and leveraging the Simba ODBC 3.52 driver to connect Tableau to MongoDB. And he's kind of worked up a real interesting, use case, kind of a live type application that I think all of you will find real interesting, and really kind of solves a business problem, which is kind of why we're here. And a couple of pages here on the slide deck give a bit of an intro, and then I'll hand it over to Adrian Glover, our development manager, and we'll do the real live demo that I know you people have all come to see today. So as we say here at Simba, Simba connects any data, anywhere, anytime. So who is Simba? Simba Technologies is an access and analytics solution provider. Simba created the original ODBC spec and standard with Microsoft back over 20 years ago. Yes, over 20 years ago, and the high-tech industry is a very long time. So we've been at this a long time. We've been developing our ODBC connectivity solutions for a long time, and really have found a rebirth in the last couple of years with all the new data sources that are coming out. So there's a lot of experience, but a lot of leading edge expertise that we're bringing to the market today. We provide connectivity for your applications to your data sources. Applications, BI applications like Tableau, which we'll be focusing on today, Excel, ClickView, Crystal Reports, you name it, we make the connection. Simba's big data drivers have been licensed to some of the largest Hadoop distributors in the industry today: Cloudera, Hortonworks, MapR, Microsoft, Intel, DataStax. So we have signed master license agreements with these organizations for the Simba ODBC 3.52 connector to Hive. That connects to Hive Server 1 and Hive Server 2. And then just as a point of note, DataStax have also licensed the Simba Cassandra driver to ODBC driver for Cassandra as well. Just to bring everyone up to speed, I'm sure you all know, but just in case we have some people that aren't familiar with Tableau software, Tableau is a data visualization tool, helps people see and understand data, helps anyone quickly analyze, visualize, and share information. and there's more than 12,000 organizations worldwide to get rapid results with the Tableau software. Our relationship with Tableau, we're a technology partner with them. Tableau, the supported connectors are built from the Simba software. Tableau recommends Simba to companies looking for connectivity, and I'll kind of illustrate that just in a screenshot from the Tableau software. So they're just a real good partner of ours, and our engineering teams work very closely together. The result is, you can see here, this is a screenshot of the Tableau software, the driver section. The data sources that are listed, Aster, Cloudera, DataStax, Google, Hortonworks, and MapR, those drivers that are available in the Tableau driver section, those are all built on Simba technology, and we've either licensed those ourselves, or in most cases licensed them to the underlying data source provider, and then Tableau has certified them and put them up on their website. And the important thing with Tableau is that it is I guess you would call it a closed system. In other words, if the data source isn't listed here, you can't really make a connection unless it was through a generic ODBC connectivity. So if you're thinking about creating your own driver, it's much easier just to use one that's already listed and fully supported by Tableau. To kind of further illustrate how the connectivity from Tableau to various data sources works, going from left to right, we've sort of grouped them together based on data source types. So in the relational area, this is the area that most of you are probably familiar with, the traditional data sources: Oracle, Microsoft, SAP, IBM, Aster, Vertica. So those all have ODBC or direct API connectivity to Tableau, and those are readily available, and I think everyone understands how those work today. Where it starts to get interesting is moving a little to the right when we get into the Hadoop space. So how will I connect Tableau to these various data sources? Sorry, just back up here. And how we would do that is through the Simba ODBC 3.52 connector. And whether or not you're using Hadoop with Hive or HBase from MapR, Hortonworks, Cloudera, DataStax, or Intel, so any of those, you can use really what has become the industry standard ODBC driver for big data, and that's the Simba driver. So in these cases, the driver you get from the distros are available from them, and that's the Simba driver that I mentioned that we've licensed under a master agreement to them, and that fully empowers Tableau software to connect to the data sources and gives you just that rich user experience that you're used to when you're dealing in the traditional data sources. And then it gets a little more interesting when we move into what was referred to as the NoSQL world, with MongoDB, Cassandra, and there are a lot of others, smaller startup companies that are coming. We'll use Mongo today as the example, but where there's really no concept of SQL or of a kind of an organization that even the way that there is in Hive or in HBase. So we're going to show you how the Simba driver will still allow you as a Tableau user to have a rich user experience and to leverage your data and start to monetize the data that you're storing in Mongo. And the demo that we have worked up for today gives a specific real-world example of how you can use your data and leverage it against your existing embedded BI tools that you already have within your organization. And then lastly, over on the right, just an example, we also have a Google ODBC driver and a Salesforce driver that can do the same thing, allow you to connect Tableau to those data sources. As most of you know, but just to reiterate, the different options in terms of connecting to Tableau. You can just import a file, so you can bring in an Excel file if you wanted to from a data source. So you could via native API, you could write your own connector. You would have to, as I mentioned in the driver screen, in order to be listed there, in order to get access, you would need to be approved by Tableau, which can really take a lot of time and effort. So you can go down that road. You can use that route if you want to write your own, or you can use an ODBC driver, which gives you live, real-time, dynamic connection. It's a generic tool, so it works with any BI application that supports ODBC. So if you use the Simba ODBC driver and you connected it to Mongo to follow our illustration today, and you had most of your users, your BI users, were on Tableau, that's great. But then you still had a handful of people, say in finance, that wanted to stay with Excel because they use it and they love it for finance. You can do that, and because it's a generic driver. The Simba ODBC driver different. So with Simba, it's fully the driver is fully supported. So whether you get to obtain the driver from Simba or whether you obtain it through your data source provider, Simba still stands behind it. So we're either supporting you directly or supporting the distribution that you've got it from. And it's a standards-based connectivity. So within that driver, we fully support the latest versions of ODBC and NoSQL, as well as the underlying data source. So we're continually updating these drivers to make sure that they offer all the features that they need to. And without Simba, if you were to try to roll your own, you'd be looking for support. You'd have to support it yourself. It may or may not be standards based. There's the challenge, as I mentioned, of getting Tableau approval and getting listed on their connectivity page. And then there's the constant version changes, and you have to think about how the data source is changing, particularly with a lot of these open source and new data sources. They are continually changing all the time. And then there's also the changes to the BI tool. In the case of Tableau, they just come up with a new release, and there'll be another release after that, and after that. And then there's these changes to the SQL and ODBC standard as well. So just a lot to think about. And by using Simba driver, we just take that all off your plate. You just don't have to worry anymore. So taking Tableau to the NoSQL world, we provide live, real-time access to your data, robust Tableau experience with NoSQL data. So query by query support. So we transform NoSQL to look like SQL. And you'll see an example of that in a minute when we fire up the demo. As well as even with Mongo, where you have nested columns and array, we provide the ability to look inside of those. So there's a lot going on within the driver. There's a lot of power, and the way that we constructed it really allows you to have that full experience when you're using your BI tool of choice. And we also allow the previewing of the schema. So when there's no organization of the data already in place, then you need to be able to have the BI tool via the ODBC driver look into the data source, run a preview so that it can come up with a concept for the schema or for the organization of the data. We'll illustrate that a little bit more. So that's really all I wanted to kind of lay out for you and just kind of set the stage for the real show. And at this point, we will bring in Adrian Glover, a development manager here at Simba, and he's going to take it from here and provide you with a terrific demonstration. Thank you.
We're going to start by creating our ODBC connection to Mongo. So in the Windows ODBC Data Source Administrator, we're going to create a new DSN for our Mongo database. The database that we're connecting to today is NASA's Apache logs. So I'll name it accordingly, tell it where to find it, which database, and then I'm going to click on Schema Definition. Now in this dialog we can see each of the different fields that have been automatically detected by the ODBC driver so that we can configure them. Now what the driver does is it actually samples the top 100 rows of the data by default. That's actually configurable. What the data actually looks like underneath is this. We turn it into a set of presentable SQL data types in a standard SQL queryable format. This capability is unique to Simba. It's defining a schema on the fly. Under the advanced options here, we can see that we can actually set it to scan more rows. So if you have a known difference in your data as you get further down into the database, you can actually set this to scan enough rows to make sure that you take into account the data that's known as different. We also have the capability of dealing with nested arrays and documents, and they can be queried as a part of the data, or they can actually be brought out as a complete JSON document so that you can do your own parsing in your application. And though that's not part of the demo that we're doing today, we are compatible with replica datasets, and we also have the ability to write back to the database. So now that we have our connection to Mongo established, I'm going to open up Tableau. I'm going to demonstrate some typical website analytics. So what we have in the Mongo database, as I mentioned briefly, is Apache logs from July 1995. So for us to go and look at those, we're going to connect to the data. We're going to go to other databases. We're going to find the DSN that we just created. And from here, we're going to open the Apache logs table, which is a representation of the Apache logs collection within the Mongo database. Now, because we're running Mongo locally on this laptop and not connecting to a production Mongo instance, instead of connecting live, we're going to import all the data because it'll be a lot faster than trying to connect live. But if you're in a production Mongo instance, you'd be able to connect live to the data and do everything live against the database. So we're going to save the extracted data. And now you can see we're actually doing a live translation of binary JSON to SQL responses over an ODBC connection. And it's actually going quite fast when you think about the conversion that's going on here. So there are 1.9 million rows of data. So you'll see this will just take a few moments, and then Tableau will ingest it and process it and prepare it to be presented in a way that that we can use. So now we can see it's doing its processing on the data, and there we go. So now we can actually see a visual representation of the same thing I showed you before from the schema in the database driver. So now what we're going to do is we're going to convert the day and hour measures to dimensions. So what happens is by default, Tableau, when it finds a numeric data type, it assumes that you are going to use it for some type of measure. But in this case, we actually want to do analytics that will relate days and hours. So we're going to convert them to dimensions by right-clicking and going down to Convert to Dimension. So now we can populate the rows and columns with those pieces of data, which I'm going to do. So we're going to put day on the column, we're going to put hour on the row, and what we're going to have a look at now is the hits on the website. So we're going to look at the number of records. So every access is effectively a hit on the website. And we're going to look at this in the form of a heat map. So what you'll see here is actually fairly interesting. You can see there's kind of this bright green spot on the 13th, and you can see that there's these light green columns on the days around the weekend. And on the 13th, so what happened here was that there was a shuttle launch at 9 a.m., so that caused a lot of traffic to NASA's website at that moment. And you can see by the lighter green over here that on the weekends people don't surf NASA, they typically do it while they're at work. So on the mouse overs, you can see it'll actually show you a little bit more detail about it, the exact day, the exact hour, the number of records. So now we're going to name this worksheet, and we'll start creating another worksheet for doing another type of analytic that's typical of web access logs. We're going to actually look at my filtered HTTP GET requests, where we're going to look at the different parts of the website that somebody might be looking at. Now to do this, we're going to use a pie chart, and in Tableau, the best way to go about doing this is to start with your filter. So what we actually have is the GET request from the access logs has been broken down into subcomponents based on the URL being requested, and target class 1 is the root of the URL. So we're going to throw that in here to filter. And what we're actually interested in measuring is the number of records, the number of times that that GET requests have come for each of those different target classes. So we're going to throw that in here too. So to get that to work, we're just going to drag it into the field here. We're going to select our handy pie chart, and there's a pie chart. And now we want to take a look at what this pie chart actually means. We're going to pull the target class over, and now you can see the complete list. What you can see here is we actually have a lot of data. So we're going to filter this down because we have too much data to get any real meaning out of a lot of it. So we're going to set a filter up to be only look at the data that's a minimum of 50,000 hits. So in order to do that, we're going to go and we're going to drag our number of records up into the filter field here. We're going to select count, and select next to the least, 50,000, and then now we got it down to a much more reasonable pie chart, and then you can see here we've got this icons field. Well, the icons, well, that's probably just kind of used by a lot of different pages, so we constant requests for icons. So we could probably exclude that as not really meaningful or important data. So we're going to get rid of it. And now that we're rid of the icon set, you can see here we've got a much more meaningful pie chart. You can actually look at each of them and see that the shuttles, probably the most requested. So you can just mouse over each of the pie slices and see 647,000, images of 609,000. And then history is somewhat less requested, but it's still number 3 and still a substantial amount of the traffic to the NASA site. So we'll name this worksheet pie chart, and next we're going to move on to the combined Salesforce and Mongo demo. So for that, next I'm going to create the database connection to Salesforce. So what we're going to do is in the ODBC Data Source Administrator, I'm going to create a new DSN using the Salesforce ODBC driver. I'm going to give it a name. Okay. Now back in Tableau, we'll open up the connection that we just created by going in to connect to data, other databases. We'll find the DSN that we just created, connect, enter our login credentials. Take the default settings. Now for this demonstration, what we're going to do is we're going to correlate web access log data with our Salesforce account data by the website. So we're going to load all the account data from Salesforce. And in this case, because the data set is small and the Salesforce is remotely hosted on commercial servers, the connection is fast enough for us to do a live connection. So now to create the correlation of data in Tableau, we'll go up here to Data, Edit Relationships, click on Custom so that we can create a custom relationship because it obviously couldn't find one of its own. We'll select Client Address from our Apache log data and Website from our account data from Salesforce. Click OK. Now we're going to measure based on number of records, which is the equivalent of web hits. Now when I take a look here, I should see a little broken chain link on the website. When I click on this, that connects the data, and now we should be able to do some interesting things. So we'll start by deciding how to display the data. I'm going to take the account name and put that along the column. And like in the previous example, I'm going to use our HTTP target class 1, which was the first part of the HTTP GET request. And I'm going to make that our rows. And you can see Tableau has to think about this. This is fairly complicated. Now you can see that we still have a fair amount of noise to the data. For one thing, we actually have null, where we didn't match between our two different data sources. So I'm going to throw in a filter to only look where we have the correlation. I'll get rid of null. And then I also want to look at only the most popular things that that our customers have been looking at on the website. So like in the previous example, I'm going to put in a minimum number of records. And for this example, I'm going to use 1,000. And now we have the data, we can do a heat map. And we can see that Joe's Database Corporation has been very interested in images, and Bob's Database Incorporated has been very interested in the shuttle. And this concludes our demonstration.
Well, thank you, Adrian. That was a terrific demonstration of, I guess, of a lot of things, of the terrific Tableau software, of the Simba ODBC 3.52 high performance driver, and of Mongo, and really of Salesforce as well. So we really appreciate you putting that together and your efforts in that regard. And for everyone, I really hope that it illustrated, and what I've put up here on the screen now is how you can solve a real business problem, and that is how to analyze web logs against your Salesforce customer data in a meaningful and a powerful way, and store the data in Mongo, and then be able to access it through your embedded BI tool of choice via the Simba ODBC connector. So yeah, thank you very much for making the time and doing that for us. We really do appreciate it. So back to the group, and as I mentioned at the beginning, we encouraged you to chat your questions as the demo was unfolding, and Nav here from our marketing department was gathering the questions up, and I've got a few of them here that have come in during the last 15 minutes or so. So I'm just going to read them out, and then do my best here to answer them, and yeah, we'll just kind of do a wrap. I know all of you've got to get back to your busy days, and we've got a little bit of a summary, and that should be it. All right, number one question. If I have questions during the installation, where do I look? So I'm just going to open up a web browser here, go to simba.com. We'll come down to the Big Data Drivers tab, and here you'll be able to see the selection of the Simba Big Data Drivers. They're all laid out here. we're focusing on MongoDB. We'll go into view products. And in case some of you have not downloaded the driver already, just hit on the sales button here, and you'll see there's a form. Fill out the form, and we'll send you access to the ODBC driver. But back to the point, if you want the documentation, the user guide, just hit on documentation, and there it is down the bottom, the user guide. So this is a really nice, slick user guide that will answer your questions around the driver, help you get set up, and tell you what it does, and all the rest of it. And we've worked hard to get that out there for you. And just another note, when you're downloading the driver, there's a little file, it's called a TDC file that's in the FTP site, and that's something that we prepared that it allows for Tableau to be optimized for the ODBC driver, and it will work better against Mongo. So just make sure you install the TDC file. So anyway, great question. Thank you very much for that one. Moving on, what operating systems are supported? So the driver, the ODBC driver, currently supports all versions of Windows, pretty much all flavors of Linux. I think we've got all that taken care of. And then the real interesting one, just as a note, is Mac OS. So we don't have that yet. It's on our roadmap. We're developing it. And really what we're doing is waiting for Tableau to come out with their Mac version. They've announced it, I think, last week at their conference. And I think that the date for release is sometime early in 2014. And we'll just follow their development path, and we'll have we'll fully support Mac OS for the ODBC driver around the time that they're ready to release their software. Another question, thanks Nav. When do I need the 32-bit versus the 64-bit version of the Simba driver? So really all you have to do is just follow the bitness of your BI application. So if you have a 32-bit version of Tableau, then you need to download, or you need to be using the Simba 32-bit ODBC driver. Say you have a 64-bit version of Excel that you want to use, then use the Simba 64-bit ODBC driver. So just follow the bitness of the BI tool, and all will be well. Good. Here's another one that came in. Can I make a SQL query from the driver? Absolutely yes. That's what it's there for. You can do a custom SQL query using there's a tab in Tableau that allows for custom SQL queries. So just hit on that tab inside Tableau, for example, and you can do that to your heart's content. You could use a tool like MS Query if you wanted to. Excel has a little wizard in there, and yeah, you can really go to town with SQL queries. Good question. And almost a follow-up to that is, can I filter on all fields? Absolutely yes. And in fact, with Mongo, and this is part of the power of the Simba driver, is that we allow for filtering on arrays and nested documents, which is kind of a tricky thing when you really think about it. And you can filter down and even go right against a specific element within say a nested document. So that's there's a lot of power in there, and allows you to, and your BI people, your experts, to really create some fabulous visualization reports. Is there a read-write version? Yes, we do. We have two distinct versions of the MongoDB driver. The first one that was released, and really what we contemplated when we started building these big data drivers, the ODBC drivers for big data, was that people would just want to query using their embedded BI tools and applications and query against the data. But as things have progressed here over the last couple of years, different use cases have started to pop up, and ones where people want to actually start transporting data back and forth and doing read-write against the data, bringing data into the BI tool, and or even things like Informatica that we've actually already licensed the Mongo and Cassandra drivers to them. Talent is another one that you can use against your data source. So yes, we do have a separate one. We license it differently, but it is available. It's not available on the website. You have to specifically request it. So yes, it's there and it works quite well. Another question, can I install the driver on a server if I'm running Tableau server version? The answer is yes, same driver. You can install it locally on the desktop machine, or you can install it on the server. And I think that's about it, and we're kind of getting close to the 45-minute mark, I think, here. So we're going to probably just wrap up with a quick summary and let you get back to your day. And if we haven't answered all the questions, please just email us. You can use the email off the website. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So just in summary and wrapping up, what the ODBC driver does is it allows a flexible data source support, provides a real high-level user experience, and leverages the power of Tableau or your BI tool of choice. The licensing options for the MongoDB ODBC driver, we have really 3 levels. The departmental deployment, so that's up to 20 or 25 users. We don't count specific number of users, but if you're just going to have it within one department within your organization, we have just an annual fee, a one set amount, and that includes the licensing, the technical support, and the upgrades to the driver, which is probably the most important thing, because these new data sources and open source projects like Mongo are being updated frequently. And you really want to have a driver that's going to be continually updated and upgraded and brought along. And as the data sources provide enhancements and new features, you want to have your driver be able to leverage those. We also have an enterprise license, so if you're going to go kind of organization-wide and maybe up to 50 or so, maybe 75 users, there's a set cost for that. Once again, subscription-based, 3-year agreement, pay yearly, and it's all you can eat. It's your license fees and your technical support and your upgrades. And then we do get some requests from very large global institutions where they have many companies and offices globally, and we just kind of do to be determined on that based on just the requirements of the organization. And that's really, I think that's it, folks. I really wanted to thank you all for making the time and joining us today. Hopefully the last 45 minutes or so was of real value to you, and we look forward to answering your questions and perhaps seeing you again soon on the next webinar event from Simba in our series of webinars as we continue to reach out and discuss data access and analytics and the issues of the day. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye for now.